Hi, I'm here today to talk to you about kindergarten readiness and preparing your child for kindergarten. I'm a mom of 3 children. The oldest is 12, the youngest is 5. So I've been through this a couple times as a parent, and I'm also a preschool teacher. So this is something I deal with on a daily basis. I actually work with the Child Development Center in our preschool to see if children are ready for kindergarten. We do screenings routinely. I'm here to hopefully give you some tools and to provide some information about whether children are ready. Do you want to send your child as a younger child? Should you hold him back a year? Hopefully I can help answer some of these questions and give a little bit of guidance. I am not here to talk about Common Core, and I'm not here to tell you how to be a parent. I just hopefully am here to give you some tools on what to do to prepare your child for kindergarten. I want to talk about a child's transition from a preschool age or setting to a kindergarten setting. I will talk about academics, thought process, and social emotional development, and what is developmentally appropriate or what is not developmentally appropriate for your age. There are approximately 50% of the children in the United States today, according to education.org, that are not ready for kindergarten for one reason or another in one of these aspects that I have just spoken about. So first, let's define what developmentally appropriate means. Developmentally appropriate practices are something that we hear about. They're in the media. They're in our political speeches. They're everywhere. But do we really know what they mean? NACE.org, which is the National Association of Education of Young Children, defines developmentally appropriate practices as a perspective within early childhood education where a teacher or child caregiver nurtures a child socially and emotionally, physically and cognitive development by basing practices and decisions on theories of child development through authentic assessments and the child's cultural background as defined by his or her community, family, history, and family structure. Basically, we want to have your child ready for kindergarten at their pace and according to who they are. Every child is an individual, and I know every parent believes that their child is the smartest and the most beautiful and the most perfect, and they're great at everything. I am no exception to that. I think that of my children on a daily basis, and that is okay. Every child is an individual and should be treated as such when they're getting ready for kindergarten. None of them learn the same. None of them are understood the same. None of them grow the same in any of these areas that we've talked about so far. So how do you know? How do you know if they're socially ready? How do you know if they're cognitively ready? The cognitive process is just how they put a thought together, how they think. It has to do with the brain. Social and emotional is how do they react socially? How do they interact socially? How do they emotionally react when they're disciplined or in any given situation in their day? And the last one is physical, so gross and fine motor skill. So gross motor skill is big body. Can they climb a ladder? Can they throw a ball? Can they jump? Can they run? Can they jump on one leg? Fine motor skills are things like writing. This is something that they'll have to do, is hold a pencil correctly. So these are the areas that we will discuss a little bit. So how do you know if they're ready for kindergarten? What do they look for? First of all, get a screening done. The Child Development Center does a free kindergarten screening in Natrona County. They cover all of these bases, and they will tell you as a parent. They have a very good system in place. All 3 of my children have been through it. They give you a piece of paper that tells you the parameters that your child is in for their developmental area or their developmental age of 4 or 5. It's a very handy tool for you as a parent to know where you might need to work with your child. So get that screening done. You hear the commercials about 1 before 2. That's a great place to start, is 1 before 2. And then as they get closer to kindergarten, a lot of the preschools will actually bring in a Child Development Center screener. And that screener can tell you a lot of things. In Natrona County, they're also doing kindergarten screenings now to let you know if your child is ready for kindergarten, and it scores it. There's a number system it scores it by, and that is somewhat helpful. I have found that the child development screening is actually a lot better screening. If you are a parent that doesn't feel like going to child development, if you're a parent that doesn't have your child in preschool, there's still ways to figure out if your child is ready. First of all, be very honest with yourself as a parent. Kind of bring yourself out away from being completely involved emotionally with your child. I know that this is difficult. Trust me, I know. But you need to know if they're ready. So some of the things you can do socially and emotionally, when you take your child to the park or you take your child to a birthday party, do they interact? Can they interact with in a group setting? Can they sit with a group of children and interact with them and speak with them and do what we call dramatic play with these children, with these other children? Can they problem solve? One of the things that they look for in kindergarten is a 3-step problem solving process. Can you give your child 3 commands, basically? Can you say, I want you to go pick up the toy, I want you to walk to your bedroom, and I want you to put it in your toy box. Those are 3 steps. Can they follow 3 steps? Can they sit quietly for several minutes? Do you have an activity you can sit them down? And this is also another way that you can test their fine motor skills. Sit them down and find a fun game for them to play and see, can they sit by themselves or with another child or with you and play a game quietly for several minutes. And by several, I mean 5 to 7. At that age, 4 to 5, 5 to 7 minutes is about what you want to ask them for. So simple instructions. Cognitive skills, some of the things that they're going to look for and in kindergarten and that the kindergarten readiness is, can they identify their letters? Can they identify their name? Can they identify your name or your peers' names? Or their peers' names. Can they identify their letter sounds? So A, B, B, C, K. Can they phonetically identify those sounds? Can they recognize their numbers 1 to 10? A lot of preschools do 1 through 20, which is great. But for kindergarten, they just really need to know if they can count to 10. And can they recognize some of those numbers? Gross and fine motor skills. We kind of touched on that earlier. But gross motor skills are, can they pick a ball up and throw it? Can they get that ball and pick it up? Can they jump on one leg? Can they walk from heel to toe? These are some of the things you'll see if you take them to testing and you take them to kindergarten testing. These are gross motor skills, so big body, things that they do big with their body. Fine motor skills. Can they stack several small objects on a peg? Can they pick up several small objects and sort them into different groups, color groups, number groups, whatever it defines them as being different, but small objects? And that also helps test the cognitive skills to see if they're starting to recognize the differences in color, numbers, length, that sort of thing. In the end, when all of these things are said and done, if you sit down and it's early and you answer all these questions and you see that there's some problems, or you see that, wow, your child is just so far ahead of everyone else, then that's great. But if you see that there's some problems, or you have some concerns, you know your child best. In the end, if you are very honest with yourself, you know best. You know best whether your child is ready for kindergarten, ready to move on to that next transition and that next stage. Kindergarten is for learning, and it isn't the kindergarten it was 10 years ago where it was a half day and they got to rest in the middle of the day. That is more of a preschool setting now. So some of the things that you might look for and you might not think about is your child taking a nap every day, a couple, 2 or 3 hours still? Is your child, did they have a late 5-year-old birthday? In Natrona County, your child has to be 5 by September 15th. If they turn 5 September 19th, like one of my children does, nope, you have to wait till the next year. But if your child's right up against that, Are they ready to go? That means they're a young 5, and there's a lot that happens in their brain cognitively between almost every month between 4 and 5. You see major changes if you sit with a child almost every day in a preschool. If you sit with your child, you see major changes. So look and see, is it because of their birthday? It's a late birthday. Understand, and hopefully I can articulate this well enough. If your child doesn't go to kindergarten until they're 6, it's okay. It's no big deal to hold them back a year. It won't hurt them in most instances. In every instance I have seen, it has actually helped the child if to hold them back a year and have them go to kindergarten when they're 6. My 5-year-old son will go to kindergarten when he's almost 6. My 7-year-old daughter went to kindergarten when she was almost 6. And it has actually helped them immensely in every aspect of their life. So hopefully what I've told you today will help you some. There's a lot of different places you can go to get yourself resources to help you. If you think that your child is just on the cusp of that, I think they can go to kindergarten, but they just need to work on this a little. Work with them. 5 to 10 minutes a day is really all it takes. Work with them on their letters, their numbers, identifying colors. You can do it as you drive around on the street. You can sit with them at the dinner table at night and talk to them about their day and incorporate it. But if you think they're really close, there's sites you can go to, abcmouse.org. kindergartenready.org. They're in Casper. There's a place, there's a league called the Ready League. Look for them. They give out backpacks, and it has all sorts of little things in it. It explains what kindergarten readiness is. There's pamphlets. There are questions people have, and there's places to get answers. So hopefully this has helped you a little bit. Thank you for listening to me, and good luck with your kindergartner.